Thanks for joining us on what's already been a wet day and is expected to continue to be a very wet day and a windy one as well. We're joined by National Weather Service Science and Operations Officer Robert Ballard. Bob, thanks for joining us to talk about this stormy weather that we're seeing because we talked about it the other day about this unsettled weather that we were expecting, and now it's here. Here as expected?
Yeah, so far things are panning out pretty well. The system is behaving about how we thought it was going to, with this low pressure area that's moving about 500 miles or so north of the islands, drawing up a tremendous amount of instability and moisture, along with the strong winds aloft that are helping to kind of feed into the system. And that's bringing us a lot of weather impacts today that are going to be pretty much statewide.
And we saw some thunderstorms over Kauai earlier in the day. Also, Maui got some wet weather to begin the day. Now we're starting to see those heavier showers and thunderstorms reach Oahu. What are some of the challenges, unlike a front where you can see it on satellite imagery and you can kind of measure it as it comes down the islands? What are some of the challenges with something like this where it is more hit and miss?
Yeah, that's right. So there is a vast area of moisture and instability, which is being drawn up over the islands around this low pressure area. It's well out ahead of any cold front that's back there to the northwest of Kauai. So that means you have a really large area that's favorable for heavy showers and thunderstorms to bubble up and pop up and move over the island. So Kauai had about earlier this morning with some severe thunderstorms. Oahu's getting thunderstorms now, and of course we could see other areas fire up and get heavy showers and thunderstorms. There's been some that have been pretty close to Maui. So again, we're not ruling out anybody for getting flash flooding and damaging winds today.
Let's talk about what you're seeing with the wet weather that is already arriving. We talked a little bit about those thunderstorms. There was concern earlier in the week about severe thunderstorms, also possibly hail or water spouts. Have we seen any of that rotation for some of these thunderstorms as they come in, or some of those more severe types that may be producing hail?
Yeah, near Kauai earlier, there were several supercell thunderstorms that had developed south of the Garden Isle. There were indications of fairly strong rotation out over the water. So we feel pretty confident that we were getting some large water spouts, not your little needle water spouts that you get on a fair weather day, but kind of fat, long-lasting water spouts that can move ashore and actually do damage. So we had a severe thunderstorm watch that was up for Kauai as these supercells were coming up close to and near the Garden Isle. Those have since weakened, and so we've allowed that watch to be dropped, the severe thunderstorm watch. That does not mean that there's not a risk for more thunderstorms developing, and that other areas may also get severe thunderstorms during the day today with that instability and the winds aloft that I was telling you. The atmosphere is pretty volatile and explosive right now, so we're really going to be keeping an eye on it during the day. The one thing I'd like to note, though, is that folks should not be lured into a false sense of security. Just because you're not getting heavy weather right now, just because you're not getting thunderstorms and the weather just looks cloudy or not that bad, does not mean that you cannot get hit later on. So we want folks to really be in touch with the weather today. And if you are going to be out and about and away from weather coverage, you probably want to make sure that you can either postpone your plans or try to get back to where you can be aware of what's going on and keep up with the latest warnings.
When we talked earlier in the week, we were talking about some of the features as far as what can lead to this type of event. Lots of moisture being pulled up and over the islands from the south, so there's a lot of moisture out there. We can see that on our radar. We also talked about some of those triggers that can help spark the very heavy showers and thunderstorms. When do we expect that peak time for the greatest heavy rains or thunderstorms across the state?
Yeah, so island by island, it's going to be kind of dependent on what's happening with the thunderstorms now. Kauai got hit earlier, so I expected that they're going to have a little bit of a break before possibly more thunderstorms roll in from the northwest, maybe later today into tonight. For Oahu, we're getting it right now. The computer model guidance that we're getting suggests that more heavy showers and thunderstorms, maybe severe, could develop west of the Big Island and kind of come up over Maui County and the Big Island this afternoon into tonight. That does not rule out thunderstorms developing around Kauai or Oahu later on as well. So it's kind of a hit or miss type thing where we need to keep an eye on what's going on and monitoring it. We know that statewide we have that threat. And then we think as we get into Friday, the focus is going to shift a little bit more from the whole state down toward Maui County and the Big Island before getting out of here in time for the weekend and getting back to much more quiet weather that I know people will be looking forward to.
We've just been talking so far about the rain, thunder, some of those types of problems with this particular storm. But what about wind? That was also something that we've seen ramp up early this morning, some strong gusts. What are we seeing as far as wind, and how bad will it get?
Yeah, so we have sort of two different wind hazards. Now, from the standpoint of impacts, either one of these can do damage. Of course, the severe thunderstorms can have strong winds with them as they're rolling through, and that's something that we're keeping an eye on. But even away from the severe thunderstorms, you have strong Kona winds that are blowing. And so what happens is, as those Kona winds from the southwest get up closer to the islands, they slow down and then they move up above the mountaintops. And when they get to the other side of the mountains, which for today is going to be the normal windward side or the north and east sides of the mountain ranges, they can accelerate very quickly to damaging speed. So 50, 60, 70 miles per hour as they're coming down into the windward valleys and windward sides of the islands. And so even outside of thunderstorms, we'll have to watch for the wind threat. And people should be aware that just about anywhere statewide, we could see power outages. We could see damage from blown roofs and other types of property damage today. It's not the worst Kona storm we've ever seen, but it's gonna have a little bit of a punch with it as it's moving through between now and say tomorrow morning.
And we also were talking about that cold front that's attached to that Kona low as well. That's also going to be bringing us some rain as well. So kind of take us through the next maybe 24, 36 hours of what we can expect.
Yeah, so we'll get that development that we're seeing today out ahead of the front. And again, that could be pretty much any island. So Kauai already had around Oahu to the Big Island is probably going to see that this afternoon into tonight. And then another round of thunderstorms is possible that may develop out to the northwest of Kauai and then start to roll down the chain closer to the cold front, which is expected to come through on the back side of this low pressure area as it starts moving away from the islands.
And so we're expecting wet and windy conditions throughout the night tonight, or throughout the day today into the night, and then tomorrow more of a rain event?
Yeah, exactly. We could still see some strong thunderstorms, I think, tomorrow, and still some strong, possibly damaging downslope winds into Friday morning. The computer guidance is showing that in the afternoon, by Friday afternoon, things should settle down fairly quickly. The system is pretty large, but then as we get toward the back side of it, we're going to get back to much more normal weather fairly quickly by the time we get to Pauhana time on Friday. But it's a little bit of rough weather we have to get through between now and then. Not everybody is going to be getting it at the same time, like we talked about. Different islands will have different focus at different times. It's very hard to nail down the exact timing. I know that's what people want. You know, when am I going to see the heavy rain and thunderstorms at my house? But the problem is the computer models do a terrible job at that scale. They can kind of give us an idea, county scale, when maybe the higher threats are, but sometimes they don't even do a great job with that. So we're kind of watching things as they evolve and what's going on in the observations and seeing if the computer models are handling it well or not. So far, things seem to be coming along pretty close to our script, but we'll keep an eye on it. But we do want folks to just understand that there is some major weather threats today.
We've been talking about the rain
tonight too,
and the wind, but this is also expected to be a winter weather maker as well. Some more snow for the Big Island as well.
Yeah, the system has cold enough temperatures aloft that I think We're going to get some snow, maybe a little bit of freezing rain at the summits of the Big Island. Could be quite a bit, especially if one of these bands of thunderstorms starts training over the Big Island. We might get a foot or two of snow up at the summits. It's going to be really hard to tell how much snow they actually get, though, because the winds are going to be blowing 80, 90 miles an hour up at summit level. So it's not going to be safe to go up there to drive or to hike. It's going to be pretty much blizzard-like conditions. And so we really want folks to wait until the storm is over and they have the roads ready to go to get up there and see the winter wonderland.
All right. Bob, thanks for talking to us about our windy, wet, and wintry weather that the state will be or will soon be experiencing. Again, we're talking with Robert Ballard, the National Weather Service Science and Operations Officer. Thanks for talking with us. I know you've got a busy day ahead with all of this wet weather.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It is a busy one. You're right.
All right. Thanks a lot. And for everyone that's watching, keep the umbrellas handy. And even if it's not raining right now where you are, it may be, including more heavy rain, headed your way.